continuation of the sermon that I shared with you last week. And so hopefully you'll find some hopeful, holy hints this morning in the text that will help all of us to move forward in our relationship with God. Have you had a good week this week? Yeah. Amen. First week. Has it been a good, full week for you? Okay, I know you had some challenging moments, but all in all, you've gotten through it. Amen? So stand with me for just a moment, because hopefully there are some encouraging words coming from this third chapter of the book of Joel. And it's verses 1 through 8. You ready for the word this morning? Do you need to be encouraged this morning? One good thing about God's word is that no matter what's transpiring, God always gives us hope. The minor prophet Joel has written these words, and he says, "For behold, in those days and at that time, when I restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem, I will gather all the nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will enter into judgment with them there. And on behalf of my people and my heritage Israel, because they've scattered them among the nations and have divided up my land and have cast lots for my people, and have traded a boy for a prostitute, and have sold a girl for wine and have drunk it. What are you to me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all the regions of Philistia? Are you paying me back for something? If you are paying me back, I will return your payment on your own head swiftly and speedily. For you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried my rich treasures into your temples. You sold the people of Judah and Jerusalem to the Greeks, in order to remove them far from their own border. Behold, I will stir them up from the place to which you sold them, and I will return your payment on your own head. I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the people of Judah, and they will sell them to the Syrians, to a nation far away, for the Lord has spoken." You may be seated in the house of the Lord. Amen. Amen. I need you to help me this morning. Minister White has already told you that it makes it so much easier to proclaim God's truth, to preach, if you've got an audience of individuals who are pushing and pulling with you just a little bit. So if you will be so kind to push and pull with me this morning, we could perhaps get out of here in just a little bit. Already past noon, I know that many of you are just chomping at the bit to get to your brunch, and so we can get there in just a few moments if you help me to move through it. Are you going to help me this morning? Amen. Bless you. I want you to turn to your neighbor. I know you don't really like to turn and talk to neighbors, but don't be scared of them. Don't be scared. That's right. Tell your neighbor, you're in the valley with God.
Come on, preacher.
You're in the valley with God. Now, just in case you didn't know it, and just in case that went over your head already, you've already got hope in the midst of your terrible situation. I've already given you what the Germans call the Sitz and Leben, which is literally the situation out of which this book comes out of. You already know that at this particular time, Israel has gone through a very difficult time and period of their lives. You know from last week that they had already experienced what was known as a plague. It was a plague of locusts. They had come through the land and absolutely annihilated and destroyed everything that was of vegetation. All the leaves on the trees were gone. All the crops were destroyed. They were just in a bad predicament. You know as well as I do, the moment that there's no crops, when the locusts have eaten up everything, the next thing that your nation is going to experience is a famine. Because if there's not enough food to supply for those who are hungering, there's going to be a famine like Israel has never seen before. Now, if that's not bad enough, the history has taught us that at the same time that there is the lack of food and there is a famine, there is also situations that they've got to deal with internally.
Yes, come on, sir.
Now, just in case you've missed the point already, please know this, that the minor prophet has been given an assignment by God to go and to tell not only to Israel, but to all of Israel's enemies that God is upset.
Yeah.
Come on, sir.
We arrive at this text, and theologians begin to deal with the last days. And so the theologians use this $100,000 word, and the word is called eschatology. And most of us are not familiar with such words like eschaton and eschatology, but it just means the study of the last days. And so the prophet, while he's dealing with the issues at this particular time, is really helping Israel to understand that God is going to show them a lesson out of their suffering in the present day that's going to help them for the future. I'm still talking about being in the valley with God. The third chapter has already dealt with what's happened in the first two chapters. And now we find ourselves right here in of all the places, the valley of Jehoshaphat. The Hebrew word Jehoshaphat literally means decision. So when you look at it and it says the valley of Jehoshaphat, the author wants you to know that God was saying to his people, it's time for you to make a decision. You missed that. Already, you know that God is suggesting to the people of God, you've got to make a decision for yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. You've got to do it for yourself. Now, how do we arrive here in this station in life in this text? I'm glad you asked. Because the text would lead us to believe that something has transpired that would put Israel in this predicament.
Yes.
You know how hard-headed people can be sometimes. You know when God can say go right, we can have a tendency to go, oh yeah, you've been there already, I see. When God has told us to do a thing, and all of a sudden on our own, we've done something else. And God says, as a result of you being disobedient, I'm going to let you go through a situation that you really didn't have to go through. But I'm going to use some people who are far more wicked than you are to chastise you, to get your attention so that somehow when you go through it, you'll come back to me. Am I talking to anybody this morning? And so what God does, he says, I'm going to use the Greeks. And you know the Greeks was those individuals that were supposedly so intellectual and so wise. They had the philosophers that they were known for, individuals that thought they were far above everybody else. Well, they had the audacity to take God's chosen people, the nation of Israel, put them into slavery and thought they had it all together. But you got to be careful when you mess with that which belongs to God. Because God will have a tendency to show up in the context of the situation to deliver his children. I'm talking to somebody this morning. Because somebody in the house is going through a bad situation. You don't know how you got there, but you're there. I stopped by to serve notice this morning that God wanted you to know that he has not left you alone. let me address this here for a moment. Because you've got these individuals who have enslaved God's people. Now, it's one thing to enslave a people, but it's another thing to take them so far away from home so that somehow they can forget where they came from and forget what they're supposed to be about. So he took the Israelites far away into the land of Philistia in hopes that they might forget Judah and Jerusalem, the southern and the northern kingdoms that belong to God. That's just one thing. But then you look up, it's one thing to be taken away from that which you know about.
That's right.
Watch the text. Because the text said that while they had taken God's people away from home, they had decided that the people had no worth.
Come on, sir. Come on.
You didn't get that.
Come on.
If they had worth, you don't sell your sons as prostitutes. It's in the text. The text has suggested that they decided they were going to take Israel's boys and sell them off into prostitution. Now that's one dilemma they've got. Because the moment that you take the sons off and sell them into prostitution, it says it negates the possibility of procreation.
Come on, sir.
There are some things biblically that are in the text, but there are some things that are external that's not in the text that the writer wants you to know. They sold off the sons as prostitutes, but then used the women. And sold them out for wine. Now you do understand that the text is implying that the moment that the sisters have been sold off for wine, the individuals that have sold them off for the wine have now become inebriated. You do not think logically when you've been inebriated and you are filled with strong wine, it somehow has a way of tainting what you know. I'm sorry, this is not Smith's translation. This is in your Bible. This is suggesting that there are some things that happen to tear down the people of God. But wait a minute for a moment, because the scripture says that God called them all together in the valley of Jehoshaphat. God says, I know that those of you who are Galilean or Gentiles or individuals who are from Palestine or those individuals who are from Philistia, I know that you're corrupt and trying to corrupt my people, but guess what? I'm going to show up in the midst of the valley. In the midst of the bad situation. But before I do that, I'm going to call all the nations together. Now, I ask the question of the text. Why, God, would you want to call all the nations down in the valley? And God says, please recognize that when I call for the nations to come out down into the valley, I want to make sure that they understand that I'm also a valley God. Sometimes we forget that no matter how bad it is in life, no matter how bad it is economically, sociologically, psychologically, God says I'm going to show up in your bad situation. So no matter what's going on in your life, God says I'm going to come down and be with you.
Bless the Lord.
Y'all sit down for a moment.
Oh, you teach this text.
There are times in my personal life when I'm up on the mountain. Things are good.
Yes.
Bills are paid.
Come on, preacher.
Beverly and I are not debating an issue.
Bless the Lord.
Lauren's acting like she got some sense. Everything looks good. Yeah. I'm not tossing and turning at night because somebody in church is acting a plum. You said it, I didn't. They've not gotten beside themselves and keeping me awake at night. It's not one of those dastardly church meetings that we've had. I just had to ponder all night long because I'm trying to figure out where they were going, what they were really dealing with. No. I'm not in one of those valleys. I'm on this mountain. But as soon as you come down off of a mountain, don't you ever fool yourself. The valley is waiting. The valley is waiting, and so often we feel like we're down there and we don't know how we're going to get out of it. Somebody here this morning is in a valley experience because you were into something you knew you should never have gotten into. Am I talking to anybody in the house this morning? Somebody is in a valley situation because your friend that you put so much stock in has deserted you, and you thought they would be with you through thick and thin, and it got thick and they got thin. Somebody here this morning is messed up and is in the valley because you thought you could meet that note that had now decided that it must be paid in full, and you don't have the wherewithal to pay it. You are in a valley and you don't know how you're going to get out of it. I said I was on the mountain at one time, and then I was in the valley. The good news about a valley is that every valley has two mountains. You didn't hear me this morning. The good news is that every time you are down in a valley, God will show up and take you to another mountain. And I just stopped by to serve notice to Second Baptist Church this morning. In 2018, we may have been in a valley. It may have looked deplorable. We didn't know how we were going to make it. But God said, Smith, tell them on Sunday morning, no matter what they're going through, there's another valley just waiting, but there's a mountain on the other side. I got to close. I got to close. But unless I make this real for you, this word has meant absolutely nothing. America is in a valley today because we decided that we are going to close gates, close borders, and become the only one that God cares about. God is calling America into a valley to address an issue and a concern that is there, that's dealing with a nation of people who have been prostituted and sold out in a land that's supposed to be free and democratic. God is saying to us, I'm a valley God, so I'm going to show up down there in Mexico so that somehow I can help some people who cannot help themselves. I just told you got a God that'll go in the valley with you. And that's good news this morning. It may not be good news for you, but I've been in the valley. And I'm glad to know that according to the conclusion of the 8th verse, God has spoken. He has spoken. And that which God says, God will do. So if you've been sick, know this, God's coming to your valley. If financially you've been challenged, God's coming to your valley. If you've had some matters in your head psychologically and you don't know how to get rid of it, God's coming to your valley. If you've been lonely for quite a while what God does. Come on, stand with me, please. Stand with me, please, as we celebrate.